Okay, let's set up our room for shooting our episode. This is part 4, so if you just joined us, pause this video and make sure to watch parts 1, 2, and 3 right over here somewhere so you can show up with a shooting plan like everybody else. By now, you should have made an outline, fleshed out what you're going to say, and developed some sort of shooting plan. So next, we have to set up the environment we plan to shoot in. My apologies in advance if this turns out to be a rather long episode. It's one of those, it takes longer to explain than to do it things. Now remember, we're just doing a simple YouTube episode like this in a room. Sure, later we'll do a full-blown short film tutorial, but if you can't do this, well, good luck on the other. Here's step 1. You gotta have a room, a garage, or some sort of enclosed area where you can control everything. For me, I moved out of my studio into this room, so I am shooting on the same terms as most everyone else. It's about a 12 by 12 foot room, so get a room. Step 2, decide if you're going to do your episode standing or sitting. I don't proclaim any acting skills whatsoever, and since I feel more comfortable sitting, I sit. Step 3, set up your camera and tripod. I set my camera at the far end of the room so I am as far away from the back wall as I can get. If you put yourself close to the back wall, everything will look flat no matter what type of camera you're using, a phone, an iPad, a DSLR, or camcorder. Additionally, you won't have any blurriness to the background, which not only makes things look good, it allows the focus to be on you, not everything in the room. The idea is to get your camera as far away from the back wall as possible and get the subject, you, as close to the camera as possible and still be able to see you, head, shoulders, and at least part of your body. Step 4, turn on your camera and figure out where you want to sit or stand. This will all depend on the type of lenses you have and the size of your room. This can be really hard if you don't have a flip-out viewfinder or a monitor connected to your camera. I use an HD monitor connected to my camera so I can see what it looks like as I move around. If you don't have a flip-out viewfinder or a monitor, you might be able to connect your camera to a computer and see it there. You can also get someone else to stand or sit where you would get everything framed up. If you do this, make sure they're about the same height as you are sitting in the chair or standing. If none of those are an option, you can try and place an angled mirror on the back wall behind the camera so you can see the viewfinder on the back of your camera. I have a monitor, so I move my chair around and adjust the tripod, the camera, until I feel I have me in the background the way I like it. In other words, make sure everything is framed the way you want it. Step 5, mark the position of everything. We know where the camera and tripod is now, and we know where we will sit or stand. I highly suggest you get some tape and mark where the chair or your feet will go and mark where the tripod goes. That way, if you have to break your equipment down or someone moves the tripod or the chair, you can come back and set up quickly instead of having to go through all this over again. Step 6, don't even think about hitting that record button and shooting your episode yet. We haven't even begun to call this setup a done, so don't get impatient. Step 7, clean your fricking room. Seriously, it still amazes me that people shoot something with all sorts of crap in the background, books and stuff all over their desk, gold plates of food, and messed up walls. Part of the skill as a filmmaker is set design. You are designing the look of what you want your viewers to see, and it's part of planning the shoot. At least move all the crap where the camera can't see it. If you can't bear to do this, then hang a sheet or something in the background and cover all your crap up. You can also add a few things that might look good in the background. A few things on the desk, some well-placed book, a vase of flowers, some nice photos, posters, whatever, or maybe just a white empty void of nothing. Remember, for this type of simple episode, you are the subject, not all your crap. Step 8, you need light, tons of it. I could probably spend 3 episodes just going over the need for light. Light boxes, LED lights, Hollywood type lights, Home Depot lights, 3-point lighting systems with all sorts of filler lights in the room. Go Google or YouTube that or whatever. Just know that any camera likes lots of light. Here's the rule to follow. Light the living hell out of the subject, that's you, then move the ISO down to match or let your auto camera or phone figure it out. Make everything as dark as you want later in editing. It may seem like you're sitting in front of the sun when you get the setup, and that's good. You'll also be able to appreciate what an actor has to contend with. Step 9. Don't even think about hitting the record button yet and shooting your episode. Yeah, it's a lot of work to set all this stuff up, but once it's set up, you can just leave it. You've done it a couple of times, You can do it in your sleep, at which point it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. Step 10, set up your sound. Here's another topic that could cover many, many, many episodes, and in fact, I've gone over this a lot of times in at least 3 episodes. There are so many different combinations and types of sound equipment, recording into the camera, recording off the camera, different mics, lapel mics, boom mics, camera mics, and this also depends on the type of camera you're using. I could go on and on forever. All I can say is the best sound you'll get is having the mic as close to your mouth as possible, about 5 to 6 inches away, or as close as you can get to that. Step 11, set up your camera. Okay, now you're saying, hey, we already did that. Well, I know it all makes sense when you're done doing this, and you'll see why it only takes a couple of minutes to set everything up later. If you have a DSLR, you might be controlling your camera settings manually. You should have your frames per second set right and your shutter speed set right. Assuming you have a crap ton of light now, you should have your ISO to set something reasonable, like below 1000, hopefully half of that. You should have your aperture set to something like 4, or something that gets you the depth of field setting, the blurriness you want in the background, so you don't go out of focus when you move a little bit around. If you're confused, go watch my series on focus. Or everything is on auto, or you're using a camera that doesn't allow you to control that stuff, well, okay, you're all ready to go. My ISO is set at 320, aperture at 4, frames per second 30, shutter speed at 60. Step 12. Check your connection and turn everything on. Once or twice I have filmed something only to find out later I had no sound or video. It sucks. I have a camera, a lapel mic connected to a separate recorder, and a video mic on top of the camera. What can go wrong? If I'm using an AC adapter for my sound recorder, and if it isn't plugged into the wall or it isn't connected, the sound recorder AC adapter or its cord is faulty. I have low or no batteries in my sound recorder. I have no card in my sound recorder. The sound recorder isn't turned on. The sound record level is at 0. The sound record level is maxed out. The lapel mic isn't connected to the sound recorder. The lapel mic, if it uses batteries, mine doesn't, has low or no batteries in it. The connection cord between the lapel mic and the sound recorder is faulty or not all the way in. The lapel mic is not turned on. The lapel mic is broken. The video mic isn't connected to the camera. The video mic, if it uses batteries, has low or no batteries in it. The connection cord between the video mic and the camera is faulty or not all the way in. The video mic is not turned on. The video mic is broken. If I'm using an AC adapter for my camera, it isn't plugged into the wall or isn't connected properly to my camera. The camera AC adapter or its cord is faulty. I have low or no batteries in my camera. I have no card in my camera. The card door isn't closed and the camera acts like it's dead. The card is already full. The camera isn't turned on. The camera settings aren't set correctly. The camera is broken. Wrong lens on the camera. No lens on the camera. Focus set and bumped out of focus. Lens not clean, tripod legs not secure, everything falls on the floor, forgot to turn on one or more of my lights, burned out lights. I could go on and on and on. There are so many things that can go wrong, but if you just do a quick check up front, everything should be fine. Step 13, get good focus so everything works. Now you need to check the focus on the subject, that's you. If you're by yourself, you have a problem. One solution is to use another person, a pole, a light stand, a stuffed animal, or something that you can place where you will be when you start filming and set the focus on that. I use a digital zoom on my camera to zoom in. I take my place in my chair, make sure my eyes are in the focus frame, and use my remote to autofocus on my eyes. There's a ton of YouTube episodes on that, or again, watch my last series on focus. If you're using a camera that autofocuses like an iPhone, then you might not have any worries. Step 14. Set your sound levels. You can kill all your sound and video by not making sure your sound levels are correct. I always check the sound level on my sound recorder and make sure when I'm talking in a normal voice, as in the voice I'm going to use during the episode, that it rides around 12 on the meters. Your recorder and setup may require higher or lower levels. That's just my setup. And you should make sure you put on a pair of headphones and listen to what's being recorded. There may be a washer or dryer in the background you didn't hear getting into your recording. Step 15. Let's record something. Let's assume everything looks like it's working. Okay, start the camera recording, make sure the damn red recording light comes on and stays on. Been fooled by that one. Start the sound recording if you're recording to an additional sound device. Make sure that light is on too. If you're using this, clap your hands once or twice, you'll see why later. Now get in your chair or stand on the mark you made for where you're gonna stand. Start talking using a voice you feel would be talking with in your episode. Just blah blah away for a minute or two, whatever you wish to talk about. Step 16. Stop. See what you got. That's right. If you're following this series, you may have never done this, and before we go off and do our whole episode and waste your time, we better make sure what we think we've got is actually what we have. So pull your camera card, pull your sound card, and let's load it up on the computer. You connect your sound or camera straight to the computer, that's fine. You'll just have to go through a few steps of setup again, which is good practice. Now grab the sound and video off your camera and sound device, upload it to your computer, and play it. You want to see A, that everything looks the way you want it to look, and B, the sound sounds like you thought it would. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then go back, fix what's not right, and do this process again until you have what you want. Now realize we're going to later adjust the brightness, color correct this footage, and add some nice ambience and sound noise reduction later. But you should really look and see if 1, you are out of focus, 2, the framing looks good and there isn't a bunch of junk in the shot, 3, the sound isn't way too loud or way too low, 4, you don't hear a bunch of rabid dogs in the background or a refrigerator or washer or dryer running. You just want to see and hear anything that isn't right, correct it, and then check it again. I don't do all this shooting review on my computer anymore as I've already checked my setup and made all the corrections I need, but I sure do check that I have power, lights, framing, sound, and the rest. And I can do this procedure now in about 3 minutes. As I said, it's one of those that takes longer to explain than do it things. And that brings us to the next episode where we're finally gonna film everything. So take a look at your shooting plan, make sure you set up your environment, make sure it looks and sounds the way you want it, and get ready to film your episode. If you need help, leave a comment below or send an email to thebasicfilmmaker@gmail.com. I'll see what I can do. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching. What can go wrong? And you have the lapel mic, which is connected to the camera, which is what can go wrong? If I'm using an AC adapter for my sound recorder and it isn't plugged into the wall or it isn't connected to the sound recorder, the AC adapter, what can go wrong? You can have your power go out on you, and then all of a sudden the power comes back on. And then you're in a chair and you've gone invisible and you don't know what's happening.